Hello again, everyone. Today is the first lesson in multi-step equations and how to solve multi-step equations. In the past, we've been working solely with two-step equations, so for today, we're going to look at what happens when it's more than two steps, 3, 4, 5 steps. Today, they're only going to be 3 steps maximum, so that'll be a little bit nicer for you. So, first thing that we want to do with a multi-step equation is identify where our variable is. And in this case, in our first equation we have up here, we have our variable t, but in this case our variable, when I'm identifying where it is on my side, I'm drawing that line down the middle, representing my equal sign again, and this is very important because I need to identify where it is. What side of that equal sign is my variable t? Well, I see one t right here, and I see another one right here. Those are my two variables, and more correctly, this is not technically a 1t, we will talk about that, that's a negative 2t, and then this right here is our 8t. So actually what's happening is we have more than one variable on the same side. Well, this goes back to show what we've done in the past with how do you simplify this? How do we actually make this a lot easier? So what we're going to do, what we've done in the past is we've said, do we have anything such as like terms on the same side? And a lot of times we've talked about combining like terms, and that's exactly what we have in this case. We have our variable t. So what we've done in the past is we've actually boxed off our like terms. What are the ones that are exactly the same? In this one I see I have an 8t, and I also have a negative 2t. So I'm going to give them the same shape and box them off. One thing to note is when we box off any like terms, we take the sign with it. That's something my students should already know. So that is a refresher for you. The other term that's up here that's not like with these two t's is this one right here, this positive 12. So I'm just going to leave that alone for the time being. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my 8t and I'm going to add it and combine it with the negative 2t, which we all know gives us 6t. And then, what was not my like term was this plus 12. So all I have to do is drop down that plus 12. The other thing I'm dropping down is my equal sign because that stays the same, and as well as this 72. So that was step 1. We combined our like terms. Now is step 2, which we've done already in any two-step equation, which in this case, I have my 6t right here, but I want to get it alone, meaning I need to subtract this 12 from both sides of my equation in order to get that 12 minus 12 situation again and get 0. That's our magic number when we're getting variables alone. My 6t, it's going to drop down. So I'm going to drop down this 6t. I'm going to drop down my equal sign. And now I just take 72, subtract 12, which is 60. Now it's a one-step equation. And in this final step, all I have to do is get this 1t. So the only way I get 1t is divide both sides by 6. That number right in front of my variable, which 6 divided by 6 is 1. So I have 1t, mission accomplished. Drop down the equal sign, and 60 divided by 6 is 10. Now we're going to check this equation. Now in this case, we actually have two variables here. We have two t's that we have to substitute this solution in for. So I'm going to do that twice. So in my actual check, I'm going to have 8 times 10 plus 12 minus 2 times 10 again, because of that t again, should be equal to 72. And now it just turns into an order of operations problem, which in this case, the first thing I need to do, I see I have 8 times 10. Multiplication comes before adding and subtracting. So I'm going to take 8 times 10, which is 80, add 12. And then I'm going to keep this negative sign here because I need to take 2 times 10, which is 20, equals 72. And now with this last step of order of operations, we're going to take our addition and subtraction from left to right. So in this case, I have 80 plus 12, which is 92. Subtract 20, and that needs to equal 72. I'll draw an arrow up because I ran out of room. And now actually evaluate what is 92 minus 20. That's 72. Is that equal to 72? It is. Therefore, our answer here is correct. Second type of equation today, that is a multi-step equation, is one where we use the distributive property. And this is a unique one where a lot of my students, they'll get mixed up because they say, oh my gosh, the parentheses are there, I have a 5 in front of it, it's got to equal 30, I'm lost. A lot of times what we'll look at is we'll look at just this. So I'll cross this out for the time being. And I'll say to my kids, what would you do if I just gave you that? If I just gave you that right there, how would you simplify it? And then they go through and say, oh my gosh, I just circle this 5 and I distribute it through to both numbers in there. Well, we're just going to do the same thing. The only difference is now we're actually going to use it to solve an equation. So when I use this distributive property, we are actually using multiplication. So we have to follow rules of multiplication. So in this case, I need to take 5 times x, which we know just gives us that 5x. And now it is 5 times, this in here is a negative 9. Remember, we take the sign with it. So 5 times negative 9 is a negative 45. And now that's equal to 30. It's pretty simple. Now it's another two-step equation, which in this case, we have our 5x on our left side of our equation. So in order to get the 5x alone, I need to get rid of this negative 45 by adding 45, and then adding 45 to the other side of my equation. Nice thing is, negative 45 plus 45, again, we're getting x alone, meaning we're getting this right here to be 0. So now I drop down my 5x, and now 30 plus 45, 75. Now it's down to a one-step equation, in which case we need to get 1x. So the way we get a 5x to be a 1x is instead of 5 times x, we divide by 5 to both sides, because we know 5 divided by 5 is 1. Mission accomplished. We may drop down our 1x, and it's equal to, 5 goes into 75, 15 times. Now to check our equation, make sure that this 15 is correct. This is a real nice and easy check, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 15, I'm going to substitute it in for x down here, which means this is 5 times 15, because we substituted in for x, minus 9 is equal to 30. And now, again, order of operations, which in this case, hey, parentheses is going to come first in the order of operations. So I need to do 15 minus 9, which is 6. And I leave that 5 on the outside because I didn't change that yet. And we know that this right here, we have multiplication. So therefore, 5 times 6 is 30, which is actually equal to 30. Therefore, we are correct. So what you're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, is you're going to go complete the form on Google Classroom. Your password or code word for today is coefficient. That's another math term for you. What a coefficient is, for those of you that do not remember, it's just simply the number in front of a variable. So instead of a 5x, if I said what is the coefficient, 5 is your coefficient. It's the number that precedes the variable. Again, if you need to rewind the video, play back these two examples, you may do so at any time. You may use your notes at any time. Okay? Good luck.